This Week 6 Daily Fantasy Football edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is presented by MyBookie.ag. Right now, to honor football, MyBookie is offering up to $1,000 in free bets using the promo code SGP. That's right, $1,000 in bonus bets on your first deposit when you use the promo code SGP. Play, win, and get paid at MyBookie.ag. We're also brought to you by CBS Sports HQ, the brand new streaming sports news network. It's live 24/7 and costs you nothing. That's right, it's sports coverage that's always on and always free. Always. We're also brought to you by Amazon. Log on to sportsgamblingpodcast.com and click the Amazon banner. Bookmark that link and use it every time you shop to score sweet savings and support the podcast. Whoa! Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking that money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer Dog?
All rise. Are we here to talk about some Major League Baseball playoffs?
All right, Ryan. I'll let you get out. I know you're devastated about Mr. Jones and his first loss to the hands of the Minnesota Vikings. But if you want to soak up the Yankees win, do so now.
First, the Vikings did a lot of raping and pillaging, so not the first.
Highly problematic.
Not the first poor Anglo-Saxon that got just absolutely demolished by a Viking. See what I did there, Sean? Secondly,
Good history lesson.
A lot of people asking me, what's up with the Kramer Fuck My Life tour? Is it over? Of course, the Hokies miraculously pulled themselves out of the dumpster fire, almost blew the game against Miami.
Yeah,
the Giants no longer look like a complete dumpster fire.
Oh, wow.
The Yankees are in the playoffs.
So you're just blowing by that loss to the Vikings at home.
Well, this was before that, and It came up on the pregame Periscope. But I'm standing by what I said on the pregame Periscope, which, by the way, thank you for not showing up to work on Sunday. I appreciate that. Weddings come first. Hashtag weddings come
Celebrating
first.
love, Ryan.
Yeah, celebrating love. No, this is like the tour goes on a hiatus because the lead singer has relapsed. That's what's going on right now with the Kramer Fuck My Life tour.
They went into a little rehab, but then they're going to get the band back together to continue the FML tour.
I think so. Anyway, I don't want to be rude.
No. Joining us on the line in Sin City, the host of Inside Vegas on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, Christian Pina. Pina, what's up, man?
Man, I thought we were going to get to talk some baseball on the show. I guess that ship just sailed real quick, huh?
Well, we can talk baseball for like 2 seconds. I
Sure.
think. That's fair, right? Pina.
I love it.
Yeah, well, I as a guy who actually watches baseball every day all summer, which is, I mean, God bless you.
I watch baseball over the NFL, guys.
Oh, my God.
You know, oh, my God. I'm man enough to admit, Sean, that when I grew up, baseball was definitely number one. In fact, I would go as far to say it was baseball and the New York Knicks tied for first with the Giants.
Wow.
This was in the Ray Musk. This is in the post LT. Like the team was just a dumpster fire. But the Yankees, I will be honest, Sean. I've definitely taken a step back from being a diehard, like playing 6 fantasy baseball leagues, knowing all the numbers. I've completely retired from all that nonsense because, no offense, Pina, but who has the time? But you know, I follow the team. This Yankee team, it feels in a little bit of a throwback, them playing the Twins and all, but it does feel like the kind of team that's going to get me very excited about baseball because they're just mashing the ball. They're the Yankees of old with maybe a pitching staff. But I wanted to ask Pina, who will I get my wish and get to see the Yankees play the Dodgers out here for the World Series?
No, it's not even close, man. Honestly, look, where's the value? I want a value. No, listen, this is the Houston Astros, kind of FU revenge tour. When you put up at the top of a pitching staff, think about this big picture, right? And just in terms of awards, and I wrote this up on SGP.com talking about how if Trout wins the MVP, baseball is broken, because that is like by default LeBron winning 7 MVPs in a row. Yes. Is LeBron the best player in baseball throughout those 7 years? Yes. Is Trout the best player? Yes, but what the NBA has done is really come around to being a narrative-based league. And, who is what player had the greatest impact, who made the greatest leap and carried their team? What other team in recent memory can you ever imagine that is going to finish the year with the number 1 AL Cy Young winner and the number 2 runner-up on the same staff? Not only that, they're going to potentially, and probably if you look at the odds, Bregman now favored at about -140 to win the MVP. They may finish with the 1-2 Cy Young and the league MVP. This is probably the best team I have seen in baseball. Man, I would say talent-wise, last 5 years, easy. Not even close. Towards those 90s Yankees teams.
I watch baseball way less than even Kramer, and I randomly decided to bet on playoff baseball today. I saw the Houston Astros, Zach Greinke. How could they mess this up? So I appreciate the team of the century and that they're just going to plow through it. But it didn't help my -150 today.
Listen, Sean.
Do you know what, though? Greinke has the mental makeup of your boy Nelson Aguilar, and I thought you got me on a baseball tangent. I promise we'll stop after this, but Greinke, man, that was the move of the season in so many ways. And what I mean by that is it could go really right or it could go really bad, because a guy like Greinke hasn't played in a game that matters in so long, and he really asked to get out of LA because, as we've seen with guys, a little bit different, but Sonny Gray couldn't handle pitching in New York, right? Well, Greinke really couldn't handle. He has anxiety disorders. He has a lot of things going on mentally, couldn't handle pitching in LA anymore. And so when you go to Houston, you start playing in big moment games, not Arizona versus Cincinnati in the middle of the summer. It could really go bad, but they're just too good everywhere else to make up for it. So it's not going to matter.
Sean, seriously, you're like this. Your lesson here is don't stumble away from the online blackjack to bet on playoff baseball.
3-2 over at mybookie.ag.
Stick to what you know.
Hey, I've just been chiseling away $20 here, $20 there, building my nest egg that I wasted on stupid, fragile Zach Greinke. I wish I would have had the scouting report. I was just looking to kill some time.
Sean, and of course, for entertainment purposes only.
# entertainment. Yeah, that's what blackjack's for. Entertainment purposes only. All right, let's get to it, man. Let's talk some National Football League daily fantasy football. And as always, it's a podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, SGPN. And like all our content on the SGPN, it is presented by mybookie.ag, the leader in online sports wagering. You can deposit, withdraw, very simple. Shout out to mybookie.ag, customer service, top notch. Any times I've had an issue, and it's been very rare, they got that nice little chat window. Go, hey, here's my deal, here's my account number. I don't even mention I'm on the podcast, right? Don't even, because I don't want to. I want to pretend like I'm a Joe Schmo, Joe 6-pack, Joe 18-pack, Joe 24-pack. I feel like we have a lot of Joe 24-packs listening to the podcast. They took care of me. Any sort of issues, they're there for you. And they got a simple formula over there, and that's simply to play, win, and get paid. And especially when you use that promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus. Let it ride. Man, big fantasy week, big DFS week. I was looking at the Millionaire Maker. I like to look at the Millionaire Maker and then imagine going back in the time machine and setting the lineup correctly. I've ran this scenario a lot of times because, as you know, I was like 0.7 points away from actually cashing number 1 million. I don't know if I ever brought it up. Second place, $200,000. So a lot of times I have these fantasies, daydreaming. A lot of times when the wife is asking, what are you thinking about? It's me being in the time machine, going back a mere 6 days so I can properly set the exact winning DFS lineup. And big scores all around. Because sometimes it's crazy. Like when I got second place, I don't know if I've brought it, but it was like low 200s. The winner this week in the Millionaire Maker was like way over 300.
Sean, I had so this is in the FFPC, not DFS. So season long, right? So you're not handpicking a weekly lineup.
Yeah.
This is the team I actually played against. I almost got doubled up, and I put up 134. He had Jared Goff, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, Will Fuller, Tyler Boyd.
What the fuck?
He put up 256 points.
Some guy tried to wanted me to trade him Godwin. Are you kidding me? This guy's insane. And Christian McCaffrey, people are trying to make a dark horse candidate out of Christian McCaffrey for MVP. A running back will never win MVP, not in our lifetime. But still, that's insane. And I've been a guy
Easy. I do have a nice little Christian McCaffrey MVP ticket I'm sitting on. So can we not just
I don't want to.
Let me throw
not to pull back
there.
the curtain too far, Christian, but I do not have a vote.
Has a running back ever won the MVP?
Did AP?
Adrian Peterson.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, what better narrative to get him there, right? Like, put up monster numbers. You have to do that. So check. So far, it's only 5 games. He's a running back. He's going to have to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. But if he continues at anything close to this pace, and the story is that this team lost their quarterback, they have a backup. He put the team on their back. Yes, the defense plays, and that helps. But no, look, if Mahomes doesn't have a monster, like, dominant year, if Russell Wilson doesn't make it through the season because he's getting pummeled every week, Deshaun Watson, there's a lot of reasons why a lot of these quarterbacks might not be the stone cold lock. So I think you need a year where there's a number of guys, maybe 3 quarterbacks competing, where people can be like, well, you know what? This running back meant more to his team than any of these guys, which, of course, we know probably isn't true. Which is why, I think the awareness of the running back being a devalued position in general, but it as far as a football team, like, what matters more, losing Cam Newton or Christian McCaffrey? I think if you flipped what happened with this team and Christian McCaffrey was transitioning to Christina, I think the team would be worse off. So
losing Cam Newton didn't hurt the team at all. It helped the team. He was holding the team back.
So you're hurting his MVP ticket now. You're hurting the case because you're saying that
I know, and I don't mean to disparage Pina's ticket over there. Pina, what did you get the price at? Did you say? McCaffrey.
Oh man, I think I got like 40 to 1. Yeah, I think I got like 40 to 1.
I mean, look, you're gonna be. I would imagine this is the kind of thing you sell on Prop Swap. This
might be the weekend to sell it after. I mean, but again,
let me pull this up here. See, let me go into my drawer of treats here and see.
But can you imagine, like, late afternoon game, Sean? I pull open my FFPC app. I want to see where I'm doing. Oh, doing good in this one, and I see it. I've got. I'm up against like 230 points. So demoralized.
Eagles defense
66 to 1, by the way.
Oh my God, that's pretty awesome.
You can sell that on Prop Swap,
one week I don't play Eagles.
The thing is,
defense.
man, his trajectory is Le'Veon Bell. Like, he is Le'Veon Bell the year that Le'Veon Bell was the best player in the National Football League, and Bell didn't win it. So you're probably right. So anyone who has Prop Swap out there, I kind of hope you skip forward to this or skip past this part to listen to it. But maybe I'll put it up there for sure.
But name like, if you asked a common NFL fan to name another Pittsburgh Steeler that year, they would have named another Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah,
if you ask a common fan to name another Carolina Panther, they would say Mam Newton. They would see that guy wearing the scarves at the Walmart. They wouldn't know anyone else.
Yeah, I think the fact that Cam Newton has been out helps their case in a weird way. But again, you want to talk about dark horse candidates for MVP. Let me guess.
Here we go. You didn't throw Carson Wentz out there?
No. The Eagles are perfectly. The Eagles are where I want them. They're completely much like the possums that are haunting my dreams. They're
the possums also one game up on the Giants in the standings.
Yeah, but they're off to the side. They're there. You don't know they're there. The hype isn't on them. The spotlight isn't on them. This is exactly where they want to be. They succeed in the underdog role, and they're just off to the side. Don't worry about them, Ryan. Pay no attention to them. But pay attention to Jacoby Brissett. Imagine throwing a little action on Jacoby Brissett for MVP. If this Colts team gets to like 11-5 somehow or 10-6, again, we're talking long shots out of long shots, but you can probably get Brissett still now at like I don't know, 100 to 1.
I'll be honest. Can I open?
I mean, really, Marlon Mack and the coaching I think are a big reason why, but the narrative is so there, right?
Yeah, honestly, my biggest regret was not grabbing more Marlon Mack stock in fantasy. He's awesome. But here's my confession, Sean.
Sure.
I saw that I lost my first half bet on the game last night. Completely passed out at like 7, whatever time that was, and woke up at like 5 a.m. and was like, oh, let me see how much the Chiefs win by. Boom, they lost. Unbelievable. Went back and watched the shortcut. What the fuck?
Patty Mahomes.
The NFL is so fucked up this year.
Patty Mahomes still minus 125 to win the MVP race.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
Well, the crazy thing is
he's hurt now.
There's 2 games, 1 combined passing touchdown. That's just insane.
Before that, he had like 34 straight games or whatever it was with 2 touchdowns. He had some crazy streak, like record-setting streak with games with 2 touchdowns, and he's now gone back-to-back with not 2 touchdowns. So I don't know, man.
Now, this is insanely disrespectful because Daniel Jones is listed at 100 to 1. You know what Jacoby Brissett is listed at? He's not on the list.
Wow.
They just beat the Chiefs last night.
He's part of the field, huh?
Oh, you know what? Sorry, this was Friday, so they haven't updated the MVP odds. But man, that is insane because he deserves to be on the list, and maybe he'll make a showing at 100 to 1. All right, enough messing around. Pina, let's talk daily fantasy football. Who is your quarterback this week? How much you paying? What are you building your lineup around? Who is leading the Fighting Pinas out onto the DFS field this week?
Well, look, my boy TFB coming through last week is, give me a little clout here. Look, let's look at a guy
who fucking wheel, man.
Usually kind of sucks when he's outside in the elements. Arizona, I don't know if that's exactly elements, but when you look up and down at, despite how bad this team is, man, Matt Ryan is absolutely fantasy balling out. And, is there a little bit of his splits at home and away? You look up and down, man, 35 at Houston, yet 19 when he was at home against Tennessee. At Indianapolis, 26.4. And on the road at Minnesota at 23.5. So who knows, man? Maybe the dude just flipped a switch and now he's better on the road all of a sudden. Matt Ryan has been absolutely balling out, 300 yards passing in 5 straight. This team sucks, but points are points, and that's all we care about in this world. So Matt Ryan, 6,400.
I definitely considered playing some Matt Ryan. The $6,400 price thought was a hair high, but I like your angle on it. And again, it's in a dome in Arizona.
Was it high?
And maybe it's not.
The floor is so high. I think I think
true
when
too.
you look at the guys at the top, for the most part, they have tremendously high floors. And I think it's appropriate for Matt Ryan to be up there. I considered it. This air raid defense is trash. Kyle, they got the Pina loves the tragedy angle. They got the big W for the owner.
Well, quick sidebar: our Pina, Kramer, and I we have a group super contest in the Vegas super contest, not the MyBookie super contest, which I'm also doing well in back-to-back 4-1 weeks after a rough start the first 3. But Kramer, update our standings. For the Westgate.
Annoyingly,
super
this week
contest.
I didn't lose a pick, but I also didn't get a pick right.
Yes.
I pushed both with the Ram. So we were 2-1-2 this week, which brings us to an overall record of, I think it's 13-9 with 2 pushes. Does that add up right?
I'll do the math there.
I wrote it down in the Slack. You can pull it up. But essentially, I have to imagine we're somewhere around the top 30%.
13-10-2 right now, which is that's a solid. And in the super contest, a push counts as half a point. So we have
going into
14
this week
points.
There were a couple groups of people that were 19-1. There were definitely some people like really balling out.
That's freaking insane,
right? I mean,
you
just got to get hot, you know.
And speaking of that, the MyBookie super contest,
here we go.
They have quarterly prizes. So I think it might be like $12,000. I don't have the number in front of me, but every 4 weeks they give a quarter winner prize. And starting 4-1, hey, all I need a couple more 4-1 weeks, 5-0 weeks, a couple of those, and look out.
Pina, you want to hear something sick?
Always.
Sean on the NFL show last week. And we'll talk more about this but I'm going to share this with everyone this week because Sean had a week of weeks. I don't know if we've ever seen this before.
Oh, hot.
You wouldn't believe it, Pina. 12-2-1. He wagered on the two losses. I mean, he had some wins too. But
is that let's talk actual dollars and cents here. Is that man?
No, I mean I still did all right, but
unbelievable.
How do you do all right going 0-2?
No.
He bet on other things. I'm just saying, like the fact that you were on
two of my losses
losers
were actual games I bet on, and then
your only two losses.
Sorry.
And one of those was in the fucking super contest.
I know my lock, the Bears, was one of those two games I got wrong. And now I think now that I got the 49ers wrong, it was 3. And I think I had a similarly good week in college where I went like 9-3 with the actual picks, but somehow got my lock wrong and my bonus lock wrong. However,
you got the 49ers right.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I had the Browns.
No, we both pounded the 49ers.
Okay. Well,
yeah, you're a bet spurt now.
I am a bet.
Who else pounds on the 49ers, guys?
Who's
my
that?
boy Jimmy G does not lose.
Oh, here we go.
Dude, I can't figure this team out because
Hey,
I swear, some of those
it's
balls.
pretty simple to figure out. He doesn't lose.
Some of the balls he throws are just not good footballs.
Win is win.
He's a better looking Tim Tebow.
Well,
yeah. Here's what it is. I think what everyone is distracted by his amazing good looks and strong chin, by the fact that like they have a defense. That's what's going on here.
Well,
they have a defense.
This and again before
those first round picks. Finally,
one of my I actually had a lineup set to go with Jimmy G in there at the quarterback position. I've since changed it because I kind of got gun shy with their fullback going out. That guy seems to be a key part. He sets up the running game. That sets up the play action. Yep. It'll be interesting to see not having that fullback and that Shanahan offense really seems to rely on it if that has a big impact on it. Kramer, who's your quarterback?
We're finally getting there. I'm sticking to the same game, but I'm going on the other side because lots of trash in that Atlanta defense. They have fired the defensive coordinator. It turns out that didn't matter.
Nope.
They gave up 50 points. I'm sure you're going to be like, well, this is the respect game. I think it's just time to fire Dan Quinn, and there's one more good old fashioned we don't give a fuck because we don't like you anymore, and all of that, and then sprinkle in a little bit that Kyler Murray sneaky high floor. He's scored over what?
His average is 21.5 fantasy points per game. He
25, 19, 17, 25. I think this is probably since he's got a pretty bad defense, Atlanta's probably worse.
Yeah.
It's also a weird week for quarterbacks.
Little nugget about Kyler. All 4 of his passing touchdowns have come at home. So
okay.
it could be a big scoring game.
Yeah, but when you're running the ball, and you saw it a lot more in the Cincinnati game, but it just I like the floor. High floor, 6,500.
This man, he's coming off a career game. Normally, you would stay away, but I love the matchup. I love the man.
Oh,
the legend. He's just a fun guy to root for. Ryan, you tweeted out making fun of me, but Gardner Minshew II. The guy he's so fun to root for. He's only $5,000. Now, you guys, you threw out Kyler Murray. He was what, 6,300. Matt Ryan, 6,400. I'm saving $1,400. Gardner Minshew II, he's at home. And this New Orleans defense, they look good against the Cowboys, but I think that's more a statement on the Cowboys as we saw against Green Bay. They let up a lot of passing yards, a lot of offensive opportunities against the Bucs. Still came out with the victory, but now this Saints team, maybe the Bridgewater magic kind of running out, a lot of pressure on the defense. If they can slow down Cam Jordan, I think Minshew could have a big game at home against a dome opponent. New Orleans, non-conference road, that long grass, Ryan.
How dare you say I was making fun of you? That's honestly what Sean believes.
I do. I wish I was.
At Gambling Podcast,
awesome.
Just check it out. It's perfect.
Pina, who's your first running back?
Man, it's a weird week for both. Quarterback and running back together. It's. I don't love a lot of it. Did we see what Matt Breida did tonight, though?
Look good.
Yeah.
85-yard run in the first play from scrimmage. And let's talk about a guy who was seemingly about to be benched for fumbles, yet all he does is put up back-to-back 100-yard performances. And in one of those games against Arizona, caught 4 balls out of the backfield. hasn't scored less than 20 points in the last 2 weeks, and that's Chris Carson. I don't know why they don't like Penny. I guess I like it for this week's scenario here. Cleveland's got issues, and look, I'm holding a Myles Garrett Defensive Player of the Year future, and so I would like them to get it together just so it looks better for him to build that case. But for all the accolades this defense has gotten, kind of getting shredded on the ground, man, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's just a pure pass rush thing, like their nickel dime defenses are better than their, for a second down, third and short. I really don't know what's going on there, but this is a pretty good matchup for a guy who is coming into his own, back against the wall, kind of fighting for a job there, knowing he's one fumble away from potentially being cut. So Chris Carson, $6,000.
It's funny because I'm guessing you're going to see a narrative this week of people saying, hey, by the way, that Ravens defense, they're not that good. And I'm going to guess you're going to see a lot of people suggest that this is the week to take an angle on Joe Mixon. I worry at this point, do we just have to steer clear of the Bengals?
Yes, I was huge on Joe Mixon coming into the season, but the Cincinnati team with no A.J. Green, some serious lack of heart possibly going on with the Bengals.
I will probably have a lineup with Mixon. I don't think it's going to be this lineup and I use the time to talk about that because I also have Chris Carson who no, I mean, you want to talk about just sheer volume. It is odd that Penny is not in the picture at all. I don't know perhaps he's not into the shirt off contest with Pete Carroll. They clearly want to give Carson the ball. And honestly, if you watch that Thursday night game last week against the Rams, who are typically a physical defense, Chris Carson looked bigger, faster, stronger, and he was falling forward every time. And frankly, I think we're close to hearing the Freddie Kitchens has to go conversation. I truly believe we are. And
Really?
I think when the Seattle team comes into town and beats them up by running the ball 35, 40 times, you got to start hearing it. So yeah, I'm also on the Chris Carson chain. He's gotten 49 carries in the past 3 weeks, and that's after dealing with some fumbling. He's just going to get the ball over and over and over against this Cleveland team that, I mean, Pina nailed it. We saw it. Both running backs put up monster days. Coleman, it didn't matter. You couldn't be wrong tonight. Coleman and Breida, useful. So Chris Carson, 6,000.
I actually I went with the Browns. I'm giving Nick Chubb another chance. I like them at home here, at least as far as Nick Chubb's concerned. Coming off an 87-yard game. Really, he's the only thing that's consistent in their offense is Nick Chubb being able to run the game. And when have they looked really good? The small amounts of time they've looked really good. It's when they get the running game going. I think they're at home. They just got to – I think this is just a volume thing, right? He didn't have any touchdowns this past game. I think he's due for a big game at home against Seattle's defense. Again, non-conference road game for Seattle. They are coming off long rest. But I think Cleveland, they just got to show up. And this is like a must-win or at least a must-show-up game for them. If you're Freddie Kitchens, the one thing he's been decent at is just the idea of, hey, give Nick Chubb the ball, see what happens. Give me Nick Chubb, $7,300.
And I don't know what the total is on this game, but I got to be looking to the under, right?
Yeah.
Just feels like both teams are going to run the ball. Like
I think Nick Chubb's good for like 25 carries.
I like him as well. I don't have him on my lineup, but it's definitely a game where I'm looking to target the running backs.
And he's also coming off his lowest catch game. He only had one catch, 12 yards. Every other game he's gotten 3 or 4 catches, so I think he gets a little bit going.
So tell me this, because I didn't watch. I just saw highlights. I was doing some soccer practice on Monday night, Sean. Did Baker Mayfield just look like hot garbage?
Did not look good. He did not. The first interception was completely his fault. Then he had a fumble. So this was the critical turning point in the game. It was 14-3. Browns are driving, about to put it in, throws the ball, gets it right down to the 1-yard line, hits the receiver right in his hands, and he juggles it, pops it up right to the defender. They get a big return. And that was just basically all they wrote.
I think it was Callaway, right?
Yeah, Callaway. Sorry. And so he didn't look good, but no one really helped him out. But Chubb is solid. They were just down so much. that he couldn't really be used as effectively as he possibly could.
Did he throw for any touchdowns tonight?
No, I don't think so.
No, right?
No.
They only scored 3 points.
Yeah.
Oh, they scored 3.
So he still doesn't. Odell's still not dealing with the better quarterback. It's crazy.
Odell under 5.5 was plus 140 tonight, and under I think 76.5 was like plus 150.
I did tweet out a screenshot of the Cleveland Browns passing. Where there was a moment where Baker was 0 for 4 for 0 yards, 1 interception, 1 sack for 9 yards, and Odell was 1 for 1 for 20-yard completion. He got you one of your Jarvis Landry completions there, Ryan. Pina, who's your second running back?
And I go up and down this slate, man, and not to repeat myself, but I don't like really anything. Kamara underwhelming. You look at good matchups. Like I struggled with this one a little bit. I did like Ingram, but I went to. Do we know who's starting for Washington this week? Is it Haskins now that they don't believe he's going to get absolutely killed by a Bill Belichick-led defense?
No, quite the contrary.
Haskins is not in the. It's either Case Keenum if he's healthy or Colt McCoy.
Callahan went out of his way to say it's definitely not going to be Haskins.
Well, let's look at these outlets for these awful quarterbacks, man. Let's look at a guy. How much do I love to cheat in PPR formats? And that's what we have here, and that's Chris Thompson, man. 10 targets, 8, 5, 5, 7. Is he lighting the world on fire? No. Even at this price point of what, $5,000, he probably even at that quote unquote cheap price probably should be a little bit less. I think that's name value of what he's done in the past, not based on this season. But you're looking at a floor here of basically 10. I don't believe, hasn't scored a touchdown all year. You know how I like to fade that and see those guys get in there every, once they don't for a couple of games. So I'm going to go Chris. I'm going to take a stab here. And again, let's not pretend that the Redskins are playing anybody here. This is the Miami Dolphins. So $5,000.
Yeah, as you pointed out earlier on Twitter, Sean, the Redskins fire their coach, go on the road, face a team coming off the bye, and are still favorites. That is unbelievable.
How is that? That's insane. That has to be some sort of record.
I'm going to stick in this game, and I was worried that we were going to have the same lineup, at least with the running backs. But when you promote your offensive line coach to be the head coach, what does that tell you? Adrian Peterson, I can't imagine he's been cool with this whole we're not going to give the ball to Adrian Peterson. If Adrian Peterson's going to have one more game, it's going to be against this dog shit Miami Dolphins team. And Warren Sharp was chirping about it, but it sounds like he's talking about he needs to run the ball more on first down. How do you do that? You pound Adrian Peterson for 25 carries. So I'm taking AP 4,500. A little bit of a stretch here, but I feel like if you're promoting the offensive line coach, it bodes well for the running game to get a couple extra carries, and they may actually be winning. So
I was on the same boat as Pina. I went the Chris Thompson route. I think Chris Thompson, he's the guy they're gonna use, and I think he's gonna get involved in the passing game. That's what offensive line guys like. Two things: pounding the rock and getting the screen game going. The screen game is when the offensive line gets to be stars. They're running out there, they're leveling guys. They love that. And AP still can't figure out how to catch a ball. Also, Adrian Peterson in Miami the night before. Ryan, have you watched the video from Adrian Peterson's 30th birthday party?
He's a family man, Sean.
This is a man who likes to spend money at the club. There's going to be a lot of clubs in Miami. So give me Chris Thompson. And for a lot of the same reasons, Pina's on him as well. Pina, who's your first receiver?
Yeah, man, let's go back, the opposite side of what I said about this Atlanta team. I do think Matt Ryan puts up points. I do think this defense sucks. And who gives up more points to anybody than wide receivers? Not many others other than the Atlanta Falcons. So let's go to old reliable. When you want a floor game, you want a very high floor game, who do you go to with Kirk out, as we talked about on the last show? Larry Fitzgerald. Look, I mean, how long have we been sitting here talking about him? 1 touchdown on the year, hasn't scored since week 3. I absolutely love that. Yeah, and played cards in the Super Contest off the pretty much at this point probably 95% ATS angle off a tragedy angle for your boy over here. They're in my good graces right now, and so I'm going with Larry Fitzgerald at 6,100.
Well, Sean, as I was watching the game with San Diego superfan Justin Decker Sunday, you weren't here to hear this, but we're watching this Atlanta Houston game. We might have a little side eye. I might have had Houston minus the points. And the entire time, I'm just like, where is DeAndre Hopkins? Decker, look it up on your phone. Is he hurt? They're not going to him. What is this all about? Yeah, I guess they just really wanted to take him out of the game while giving up 52-3. Like at some point, scrap the triple cover DeAndre Hopkins play every play because you're getting beat. You gave up 50 points in the National Football League. That's embarrassing. I think the National Football League needs to maybe entertain the idea of relegation, like Premier League Soccer.
That is a disgusting act.
It's not I'm opposed to relegation. I'm opposed to allowing soccer to influence the real football, Ryan.
And all of this, let's look at the positive, though. DeAndre Hopkins, his price is very depressed at $7,400. They have a very juicy matchup. I almost went to Sean Watson, Hopkins stack again. And, they're going against Kansas City. I don't think Kansas City is going to be held down this week. It's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a classic Watson Magic game, actually. I think I'm all in on the Texans now. I'm back in my Texans from years ago.
Wait, who's the quarterback when
UV Gay, Matt Schaub. He was the guy. Remember that pick six game?
Oh, my God. I've never seen just one game where
he's still in the league, I think.
No.
Yeah, I think he's still in the league.
Matt Schaub? No way. I thought that guy
he killed himself. He's backing up Matt Ryan. That's the problem with the Falcons.
Okay, there you go. He's bringing his horrible juju. The Mats, they don't know how to quarterback. I also took DeAndre Hopkins. Again, he can only be slowed down for so long. This Kansas City defense is suspect, even in Kansas City. And I think Kansas City, they're just going to struggle to contain Deshaun Watson. Hopkins is going to be running around. Could be a shootout. I love the situation.
Me?
Yeah,
nice.
I'm also on Hopkins. Pina, who's your second receiver?
I went to the same game. I just went to a cheaper receiver, guys. Look, I don't fully, think people comprehend just what Will Fuller has been able to do in this league, especially if you look last year at what he did. This is absolutely insane. And I know that last week was against Atlanta, again, coming back to the Fitzgerald pick, finally getting what he did all week last year. Normally, do I like fading guys off huge games? I mean, dude, this is insane. 56.7 fantasy points. I don't even know what to say about that. He's not as bad as the weeks before that. Obviously, that was the ceiling game, but you give me the average of those, and I am more than happy. And maybe, look, T.Y. Hilton, I know he was banged up. Obviously had a pretty bad game. Maybe they're figuring out to roll coverage to the one, whatever it is. He's probably, I would say, Keenan Allen's number one in terms of underranked wide receivers in the league, and I'm ready to put Will Fuller at number two. I'm also putting my next guy at number three, as we'll get to, but Will Fuller, $6,000.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy you targeted in all your best ball leagues, and this is the week you target him for, right? You get that 50 spot. Is it my turn, Sean?
Yes, Ryan. Who's your second receiver?
I had to stack my boy Kyler. So I'm also on Larry Fitzgerald. I do think I'm paying a little bit too much for him this week, but he does have the ceiling. He is going against this absolute trash Atlanta team, who Sean I've included in our timeout. They've gone to full blown timeout land. Larry Fitzgerald, 6,100. I had to stack him with someone. Kirk, who knows if he's going to play. I just, there's no other options.
Fitz dog, he's consistent.
And he finally got his degree.
This guy, again, sometimes you don't have to be cute. You don't have to overthink things. Give me Cooper Kupp. 17 targets. He only caught 9 of them and still had 117 yards and a touchdown. The Rams, long rest from the Thursday game at home against this 49ers defense. They bring a pass rush. How do you mitigate the pass rush? Quick passes to my boy Cooper Kupp. The guy's just going to get you another 12 catches, possibly a touchdown. He put up 30 points in Seattle. I think he's due for another big game at home. San Francisco, short week. What's not to like about Cooper Kupp, man?
He's beautiful.
He is.
Whoa.
Got a little new music, Ryan.
For a second, I was like, what's wrong with the sound? What, is Pina in an airplane?
No. Pina's not in an airplane. We're just hearing about our good pals over at CBS Sports HQ. It's a brand new streaming sports news network. It's live 24/7. The best price, or the best part of it, it's free. That's right, completely free. CBS Sports HQ, always focused on the game. You get the news, the highlights, the analysis, not a bunch of just talking heads dropping your hot takes. And again, I know a lot of other sports networks out there, they're afraid to talk about gambling. CBS Sports HQ, they're not afraid. They're not afraid. It's really simple. Not only is it free, all you got to do, download the CBS Sports app on your phone, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, any other connected device at time to watch CBS Sports HQ. No fake debates, just sports for real sports fans. And again, the price completely free. What I love about CBS Sports HQ, I enjoy the content, strong hosts. Most importantly, you don't even need a login. Some of these places you at least have to get a login. They get your email, they get you on the list, they're annoying you. Not CBS Sports HQ. All you got to do, download the CBS Sports app and watch CBS Sports HQ today. Pina, what are you doing for your third receiver?
Talked about it, guys. How long have I been beating this drum? I think you know where I'm going, because this guy has finally proven, finally, he's been in the league for 2 years at the most. I remember he's a rookie last year. Cortland Sutton, Joe Flacco's favorite target. This guy, you could pull the audio. The guy runs like Tavon Austin, but is built like Des Bryant, and he is probably in my mind the third. Let's call him top 5 underrated receivers in this league. Physical freak of nature, Josh Gordon potential in him, man. Cortland Sutton, I mean, go up and down. Finally getting into, finally having a quarterback. I mean, say what you want about Flacco, but he's not afraid to bomb it deep, and he's going to come down with 50-50 balls a lot more than most. 19 last week, 24 before that, 22 week 1 down game after that, as it kind of tends to come and go. And I pray Malcolm Butler is on him so we could toast him into the dirt in a non-Belichick scheme defense at $5,000. Too good to pass up.
I have not heard Christian Pina this turned on since Tony Romo. And speaking of which, Tony Romo had that game with Jim Nantz, and they would not shut the fuck up about how much this win was going to mean for Vic Fangio. I've been there. I know. It means so much. He's trying to build culture, and that win – it's like honestly, I thought Decker's head was going to explode. It was like watching Aikman call the Cowboys game.
Superchargers, charge.
So unbelievable. Anyway, wow. I look, the Drip Squad. He is a member of the Drip Squad, Sean, and we did start him this
in
week,
the Listener Fantasy League. Yes.
I like that pick.
We actually? I don't think we actually started.
All right. Well, we don't have to tell people that. We can pretend, Sean. Only 11 people can prove us wrong.
Hey. I'm keeping it honest over here. We lost to a guy named the Shine Box, so
I got to be honest, Sean. At this point, I feel like I have some pretty bulky thoroughbreds in the receiver.
What happened to the Escalades? I thought now you're comparing them to horses.
Chris Carson, and that's
running
backs.
We could get into some trouble, Ryan.
No, they're horses.
Okay.
They're horses. They're thoroughbreds. They're in the barn. They're ready to run the big race on Sunday. Well, I'm going to back another one in. And this he might not look as good coming off the bus, but Adam Thielen has a dream matchup against the I thought
you were talking about the New York Giants.
You know what? He looked good last week. He has an equally easy matchup this week. They're at home.
Talking about Craig James?
They're at home.
They're going to put Rasul Douglas on him. He's got him.
They're at home. They had the Kirk Cousins. This was another thing, little inside Iggy, because I'm sure you didn't watch the Giants game, but kept bringing up the fact that Adam Thielen called Kirk Cousins out on his podcast. It was as if they were plugging it. This fucking shitty. I gotta find the podcast now, honestly, because what
calls out people on podcasts?
What do you think? What do you think a Kirk Cousins podcast is like?
Wait, I thought Adam Thielen called him out. Or no,
on Kirk Cousins' podcast. Maybe I got it backwards. Either way, they had a face-to-face, and he said, bro, you got to try to throw the ball down the field. So I think they mended fences. I actually considered going Cousins and stacking Diggs and Thielen because the Eagles secondary is such
well,
hot
you know
trash.
what's gonna happen. They're gonna shut down the run. Dalvin Cook. They're gonna force Cousins to beat him, and Cousins isn't gonna be able to do that.
Well, they're going to
Did
get
you see
past
Orlando Scandrick defensive touchdown?
You played the
10
Jets.
sacks.
The Jets.
Still,
Sean,
they're
relax.
still an
Adam
NFL
Thielen,
team.
6,700.
Give it to me.
You
He's
starting
his-
Tyreek Hill?
No, he's his partner in crime, DJ Chark
Oh.
Jr.
Man, he looked good.
He looked good. He had a huge game. I know you should think to fade him there, but now they're on the road. They're back home against the Saints team outdoors. I like the matchup again, and with Minshew and DJ Chark, I don't think the price has been adjusted enough. The DraftKings takes a couple weeks to really adjust the price. Chark is only 5,500, and I think the guy's a legit top 10 fantasy receiver right now. 22.3 fantasy points per game, and especially since Minshew's been in there, which has pretty much been the entire season, he's looked awesome. So, yeah, give me some of that Chark, baby. Straight Chark. Pina, who's your tight end? I feel like we might have the same tight end.
I like that straight Chark drop, but I want to give you a little vote of confidence, man. I mean, think about he's running the Allen at this point now in this season. He's running the Allen Robinson route tree, and people wanted to call him the target monster all that time back when he was in Jacksonville. And what do I always say? Twos play with twos, and Chark coming into the year, is what it is. He was a 2, so probably practice with Minshew. That's kind of why you saw we talked about last week with Bryce Petty and Robbie Anderson. So I absolutely love that play, and I think that makes a lot of sense for kind of the rest of season outlook. But tight ends, too easy here. Austin Hooper, I got to stack with Ryan. I can't afford Julio at this point, and I want to go with the cheapest option here at $5,000. This Arizona team is last in the league fantasy points against tight ends. But there's always these little wrinkles that emerge as the season goes on, and you make that switch from what teams were last year to what they actually are this year. And it appears, again, even though Arizona was a team that we targeted pretty much every week to go to buy a tight end against, this one is, 9 targets, 11 targets, 7, 6, 9. I love his props over this week for a guy who just faced Tennessee and put up 130 yards before going up a defensive scheme that takes the tight end away, and Houston still putting up 56. So hasn't scored since that week 3 matchup. Definitely love him to get into the end zone this week. So Austin Hooper stacking with Ryan at $5,000.
You're stacking with Ryan, and you're also stacking with real money Kramer because I'm sticking with this trend. Why would I not? The Cardinals, for whatever reason, and this happens with the Peanut highlighted, there's always like a handful of teams that are just bad. The difference is
Tampa was our other one last year, right?
Yeah, but the difference is this team is so bad. They've given out I think 80 fantasy points against, and that includes them shutting down the tight ends last week for only 30 yards. So they've still given up 6 touchdowns on the season.
Well, to be fair, Cincinnati, what do they do with every single year? The book is out on them, right? Tyler Croft and Eifert, right? They go 2 for 22 and 2 touchdowns. So I don't even think I think that's just more of an indictment of Cincy and what they do. They're
it's
only red zone
essentially
target.
what they did. They both had a couple catches, no touchdowns though. But I'm going back to that well. And Hooper, one of the guys I touted preseason, Sean, as being on the field more than every other tight end, or he was in the top 5, something like that. 93% of the snaps. Austin Hooper, he's got the dream matchup this week. 5,000. Against the aforementioned Cardinals. And I think, this game has kind of not a sneaky shot, but I think it has a real shot to be an actual shootout. Not like the Houston game where Houston was just dropping their giant dong on the Falcons and they scored some garbage points. I'm going to stick to this trend just because – typically I want to target a couple teams, but they're so even after only giving up 30 yards, they're still clearly the worst team against the tight end, which is impressive.
You know who else is impressing at the tight end position? Will Dissly. He's had a great year so far. I think he's leading fantasy tight ends.
Well, Sean, we know Russell knows how to find
he
specifically Danger Russell. Danger
Russ knows how to find him some tight ends. He's coming off a relatively quiet game, only 4 catches for 81 yards. That's still 20.3 average. I think last game was the only game he had where he didn't score a touchdown. Seattle coming off long rest. They're playing the Browns. Kittle had a really good game against the Browns tonight. I think Disley could have a big game against the Browns. He's $4,900. Russ runs around. He loves dropping it off to Disley. Disley was what I think Jimmy Graham was kind of supposed to be, and he's kind of come out of nowhere. The Seahawks were high on him. He got injured last year, didn't play at all, and now he's off to a great season. So, give me some Will Disley, 4,900. Pino, who's in your flex spot?
I'm not going to take up too much time here. Sean, you really highlighted it. Cooper Kupp is kind of the Keenan Allen of last year, and even to a degree this year. You know what? People are going to they're going to go to the next leap from this, but he is Adam Thielen of last year, where nobody understands how good that he is, man. 29, 36, 20. This is Adam Thielen 2.0. And, have you guys seen the tweets out there that's like there's a lot of both beat reporters and national or NFL national reporters who believe he is, in terms of like value, the actual most valuable player that is not a quarterback in the NFL, because he acts as basically a coach for every receiver on the field with him.
I mean, look, he is the Jordy Nelson to Jared Goff's Aaron Rodgers. I just think it's clear that him and Jared Goff get along. I'm sure Jared Goff.
I think
he's scared of Robert
it's almost like a Patriots thing, right? Like the other thing, man, I absolutely love this take, and shout out to my guy Vegas Refund for putting this take out there. If you look at Jared Goff's home road splits, they are incredibly different. And we were kind of talking, figuring out, what we wanted to do with last game as we were going back and forth. And he said one thing to me I was like, man, I never really thought about this. Do you think, again, because of the headpieces and the way that McVay is able to talk straight to Goff, Goff can't hear him on the road, and that's the reason for it, because McVay is literally telling him in 5 seconds, throw the ball here? Or do you think it's largely just a weird, meaningless throwaway trend?
I think Jared Goff is objectively a moron, and I think Sean McVay feeds him a lot of information before the snap that's probably a little harder to convey.
Yeah.
I think there's also the fact that Jared Goff is a giant pussy, and there's a lot of people screaming at him, and that probably scares him.
Wait. Listen, even before Sean, people forget I am a majority silent partner in Jared Goff Sucks Island, and I own the adjoining condo to Mitch Trubisky will be a backup in 3 years, right?
Yeah,
so I was probably wrong on Dak, but
he got some of the early condos. He's got the naming rights. He's got a couple lots. We're gonna sell when it's at its highest. But yeah,
I always thought that kid was going to be better than Carson Wentz.
There was a time when things got a little scary in that Seattle game where Jared Goff, here he comes.
They do have moments where you're like, damn, like what prevents them from doing this all the time?
It is,
and it's a good transition because my flex spot is talking about another receiver. 5,600 for Robert Woods is just too low. And if you look at the weak spot, again, is Brandon Cooks going to be playing, Sean?
I do not have a.
Well, I can drop the breaking news. He's in the concussion protocol. So
place he knew well in Super Bowl 52.
Place he knew well.
That was a brutal hit. Love it.
But what the main thing to point out here is that while San Francisco has rolled out a shiny new defense that looks legitimate, they do have a weak spot, and that's going up against like what you would call a traditional number 2. What is Robert Woods? He runs that traditional number 2 role for this team, and while he's not getting the target shares that I think I expected this year, he has been relatively consistent. Even the bad games are not horrible. I do think that with all the attention that the Niners are going to pay to Cooper Kupp, because we've all seen it. We've all seen the tape. You have to if you take that guy out of the game, you will make Jared Goff more uncomfortable. I think some of those targets end up going to Robert Woods, and as Pino likes to say, 666 and hopefully a touchdown. So for that price, I think he's kind of 5,600 is a little ridiculous to me for Robert Woods. So I throw him in there. I was trying to find a way to get Le'Veon Bell in there this week, just after that Cowboys defense. Did you see the video of Aaron Jones waving at the Cowboys defender?
And Ryan, I did hear you say it on the pregame Periscope, which I watched, and I chatted. You said you thought Le'Veon Bell could have one of those games where he just catches a bunch of balls, and he put up. I mean, he's probably still overpriced. But he was targeted 9 times and did catch the ball 7 times.
Well, see, that's where I think
43 rushing yards.
I think you're wrong, because I think if Darnold's back, he's more than 6,400. And I think just having
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, I think Darnold coming back helps his value go up.
Oh, yeah.
So his price is way too depressed for what Le'Veon Bell could be. I mean, to your point, I did kind of call it out. He had 7 catches, 45 yards on 9 targets. I think the running game maybe gets improved.
I guess I'm just saying 15 points off at 6,400 isn't great, but if that Cowboys running defense doesn't translate and Darnold's back, it opens things up a little bit more.
Well, that's the strength of the Eagles'
sense.
defense is slowing down a run game, so it makes more. Anyway, I'm probably going to be throwing out some more lineups this week. I had a strange amount of free time this morning, Sean, and I really dove in. I've already made 3 lineups, so I already had to select which one would I throw out there to the clients, and this is
as much as I would just like to say that Hassan Ridgeway and Josh Sweat are going to be all-pro defensive linemen. I think you have to look across the other side of the ball there and really question that Jets offensive line, among many things. So even though the Cowboys are coming in, the Jets are at home, better situation. Buyer beware of anyone.
Did you see? Well, that's why I stayed away from Mixon and Bell for those reasons. I think I'm going to play a risky lineup with both of those guys because I think a lot of people are going to think the same thing, and they'll probably be low-share guys. But you never know. Anyway, did you see that thing I tweeted about Adam Gase last?
Oh my God!
How bad his last 7 or 8 losses?
Horrific. He's got to hit the smelling salts.
Who gets
that intensity back?
Well, before we get to your flex, Sean, who gets fired next? Who's the next coach to be fired? Is it Dan Quinn?
I'm going to go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com and figure out who is the next. I guess I would disagree with Pina because I think Tomlin.
The Steelers don't
fire mid-season. They don't fire mid-season, and
it is. But
he's never had a losing year, and then to fire him after he loses Roethlisberger, they just
2 quarterbacks.
They don't like to.
The last one died on the field.
Oh my God, Mason Rudolph.
R.I.P.
It's crazy to me that Doug Marrone is 6-1 and Adam Gase is 10-1. Doug Marrone, what are you talking about? It's Minshew mania. There's certainly some issues. I think it's just as much as the other coaches are interesting. Dan Quinn at 3-1, there is just tremendous value. I don't know if Dan Quinn makes it to the end of the season. Jason Garrett, I think he does. Marrone, I think he does. But yeah, I mean. Even Gase, they're going to give him more time. They're going to give him another year with Darnold. Shermer, he sucks, but that's kind of what they signed up for in New York. Tomlin, there is a rumor that Tomlin, and I don't actually see this happening, but I did see a rumor that the Redskins were going to try and reach out and trade for Mike Tomlin as an NFL head coach.
Who's the last coach that got traded for?
I think it's Gruden, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you know before that, though? I guess Gruden's the obvious one, but anyone before that? I don't remember it ever happening. I guess it was kind of before my time.
It's just so rare.
I mean, it's not something.
I think MLB did it too, like a bunch of years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And wait, was I think Belichick may have been technically traded when he was on the Jets and then New England. I think they actually had.
He left a napkin that said "I quit."
Oh yeah, he did. But I thought he maybe. Yeah, there was no actual trade. That's an interesting. It's so rare, so crazy. All right, so what are we on? Me on my flex. Here we go. Talking about this Minnesota game. I like. I'm buying me some stock in Jordan Howard at $4,900. Coming off a not a crazy game by any means. The offense was solid, but again, really the defense carried them and. That's what you do against the Jets when you have 2 defensive touchdowns. Offense doesn't need to do a ton. However, breaking news. Doug P. He came out and he said that Jordan Howard is going to be getting the majority of the work. So I think that is a signal not only to fantasy owners, the NFL in general, I think that's a signal to the offensive line. Hey, we're going to keep – I think the offensive line likes blocking better for Jordan Howard. They like what they did in that Green Bay game where they started pushing people around and running the ball down their throats. I think with Deshaun Jackson out, the deep ball won't be there as much for next week against the Vikings. He looks like he's going to take another week off. Kind of a soft guy. Come on, it's an abdominal shrink. Get your shit together. Either way, I think Jordan Howard. He's been the goal line guy. I think he's a real steal this week at 4,900, and they're working him into the passing game.
It's the patience thing. I think an offensive line likes blocking for a guy that's going to wait for the blocks to set up because everyone's going to be more successful. And yes, Belichick was traded.
Okay, so that's what I thought. I thought technically he was. And Miles
he quit, and they just had to though, right?
Yeah,
He literally left a napkin and said, "I resign."
Yeah, I think he quit, but they were like, well, technically we own your rights. We may as well get something for you. Miles Sanders, he's had some bursts. I mean, his kick return was awesome. He's had a couple big pass plays, but he's bouncing it out a little outside too much still. He's a rookie, still kind of figuring it out. He's fumbled a little bit. So I think Jordan Howard could be the workhorse there. And at 4,900, not a bad play.
And you got your eagle in there, Sean. Congratulations.
I'm contractually obligated. Pina, close things out. Who's your defense?
Man, I really wanted to go Denver in this spot. I just can't trust this team. You know what? They you look up, right? They were the first team to they were the only team left to not have a sack, which is absolutely insane through the first 4 weeks, and then they explode with 5. But if you look deeper, all right, they also only put up 5 fantasy points that week, but yet against the Chargers, when they absolutely killed it, they put up 12 but had no sacks. And so I just this D is so weird to me, man. I want to bring this up. Look, it's not often that I endorse an Eagles play here, but this is look. The playbook is out here. Kirk Cousins, Vikings, 9-0 straight up against teams that finished the year prior ATS over 500, and before that 1-8. This is too easy. And again, I know people think trends go back too far, so that's again just since 2018. So the last 2 years, the playbook is out. I love the Eagles in this spot, and I love this defense despite the fact that it is a road defense. I can't pass it up. This is the Cousins come undone game. Perfect spot for the Eagles, but hey, I thought the Detroit game was too, so what do I know?
You didn't need to throw that in, Pina. The Detroit burn.
I like it.
Kramer, close things out. Who are you going with? What defense?
Well, here I am again. Who did I start last week, Sean? The Washington Redskins. They got me some points. It wasn't the worst punt in the world. This week, I'm gonna join you. Little Gardner Minshew mania. I'm gonna take the Jacksonville Jaguars defense on the long grass in Jacksonville. The hot tub atmosphere.
I get that. Maybe Bridgewater due for a bad game.
I haven't seen.
Can I give you a good stat?
Give it to me.
All right. So basically, over the last 2 years, which this specific trend dates back about the last 10 games, is when it was able to be applied here. Jaguars and again, this one did not come in last week, so I do want to preface it by this, but this is probably one of the crazier ones that I have seen out there in the league. Jacksonville, when they allow more than 20 points the week prior, they have allowed more than 20 points the week after, again, incorporating into last week, just twice in their last 13 games, man. So they get up after a bad game. I don't know what the Ramsey situation has to do with that.
A lot of calculating there.
Well,
my
take on that would be is that I saw them. They definitely aren't the Jacksonville defense we remember. They kind of got shredded last week, but I don't know what it is. I think this Saints team is really good, and I just keep finding reasons to want to go against them. In this case, I'm literally picking: do I want the Texans, the Cardinals, the Bengals, the Jets, or the Jags? In that company, it's a landslide. So give me the Jags, 2,200. The long grass slows down the Butler. Maybe Drew Brees trips and falls in a hot tub. Teddy Bridgewater joins him. Wears the gloves in the hot tub.
Jets are available at 1,500.
That's how much Washington was when I played them last week. I think they were 1,600. Maybe.
I seriously considered. I have $2,900 left, and I seriously considered playing the Miami Dolphins at home against this Washington offense. I'm not going to.
No.
Instead, I'm going to take hashtag Tighten Up. Give me the Tennessee Titans against
give
the
me
Broncos.
A throw up drop, please.
Me too.
That is a disgusting act.
This Denver offensive line is not good, and I think they're going to have trouble blocking. Tennessee is kind of a physical team. They're not a pretty team by any means. Marcus Mariota is not a franchise quarterback.
Oh, Sean.
And the Titans are seriously flawed.
Let me
but
talk
they have
you out
17
of this.
sacks.
Let me talk you out of this.
Why?
Denver got over the schneid. They're gonna rattle off a couple wins here. I think you have to look at the splits. When the Titans were dominating games, their defense showed up. They did stuff when they weren't.
Are you looking just at the 9 sacks in the last 2 games?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying in general. Like I'm trying to talk them out of a bad spot. What I saw when they played the chart, I see a lot of reasons to be optimistic if I'm a Broncos fan. And Sean, you can do better. You can do better for the clients.
Do I go
Be better than the Gap?
Do I go Miami Dolphins? That's
No,
kind of insane.
no.
All right.
You know what? I will say this. It's a very tough week for defenses. Why don't you just take
how
the
about
Eagles?
Cleveland?
I
No.
can't afford the Eagles.
Oh, my goodness.
Cleveland
That's kind of gross,
made that
too.
public narrative.
Very high. But that's a very high floor. It's a smart play because Russell Wilson's going to take like 6 sacks.
Not only that, they're going to run the ball.
No,
40
you know what,
times.
Sean?
But I got Will Disley.
I've never won.
You
on
love,
my tight
you love
end.
the 9 sacks. You love the 9 sacks, but
Yeah.
let's look at Cleveland, man. 2 sacks, 4 sacks, 2 sacks, 4 sacks, 4 sacks. I mean, there's not a safer floor
Sean,
in the league.
Myself and Christian Peanut have not won $200,000.
You know what? Don't try and get in my head, guys. Give me the Tennessee Titans. You guys brought up good points, but I'm not here for good points. I'm a gut handicapper. My gut tells me to take the Titans. Hashtag Tighten Up.
Yes.
And that's it.
I can't wait till Cortland Sutton.
The Sports Gambling Podcast.
Cortland
Yo.
Sutton toast your boy Malcolm Butler, and I laugh at
Something's going to happen with this Titans team. They show up in ugly spots, and I think the Broncos coming off a win is an ugly spot.
They do.
I like going up against Joe Flacco.
Titans, they don't win or lose 2 in a row.
No,
So
they're stuck at 500. Before we go, as always, when we close out the podcast, like to give you guys a little challenge. Get on the
we're
iTunes.
not doing the waivers?
Rate, review, and share. We will do some waivers, Ryan. But before we get to that, 5 stars. Quote, greatest podcast on the planet
Wow.
by WVU Jim 51. These guys are awesome.
Love Morgantown. Great
They are
state.
literally the only reason I can make it to work in the morning without driving my truck into the river. Not only are these guys knowledgeable, parentheses helping me hedge my Texas minus 10.5, WVU plus 13.5.
Whoa, nice.
Bet this weekend, but they're hilarious too. Also super generous. They opened their wallets to the fans for the first Thursday night game of the season at Legacy Stadium with tons of beer and food. So naturally, I had to thank them with some shots. Much love from West, by God.
Oh, yeah. Like this dude. He bought us shots. I remember.
Yes, a good dude, and shout out to him on the podcast. And,
Yeah, see, that wasn't fake. That was real.
what was real?
It's a real testament. No, I'm just saying, like, we were there. If
I
you're
was there.
listening and you think this is all an act, this is all some sort of Hollywood shenanigans,
Yes,
maybe a
this,
little.
this like the moon landing has been faked.
Oh, whoa. Dude, first you played Gardner Minshew and now this?
No, but seriously, what happened to Jeffrey Epstein? We haven't figured this out. No one's gonna investigate further. Okay, Kramer, you love talking waiver wire.
I love how much you love the Epstein story.
It's just fascinating that it's a crime that could implicate huge members of our government and not getting looked into. In my opinion.
You know, I like having the podcast. Maybe we don't rattle the wrong cages, Sean. Christian McCaffrey, is he okay? He was hobbling there. Anyone worried about his ability to?
Reggie Bonifant,
There you go.
interesting waiver wire guy, and of course he was listed by our guy Chris Giordani, who cranks out a solid, dare I say, awesome waiver wire article each week.
I mean, other than that, you want to. I don't think there's a ton of guys like if you're like I pointed out on Twitter, who the fuck is Delvin Hodges? Well, he's the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think you have some
confirmed baller. Stanford, watch him go.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's it's not a bad week for streamers. I mean, I think
Gardner Minshew, according to this article on sportsgamblingpodcast.com, only 23% owned. That's crazy.
Well, and I think you have there's a lot of guys on the who are waiver wire fodder who are good streamers this week. So
yeah.
I think if you're in a tight quarterback spot, you have some bye weeks, or you just have been streaming, you have some options. I mean, for me, the guy at the top of that list is Kirk Cousins against the Eagles secondary, but that's just me. That's just
psychotic.
Me. I'm gonna put all my eggs in the Kirk Cousins basket. Other guy I'd point out is just Shepard. He's gonna be out for a bit with a concussion. Daniel Jones really likes throwing to Darius Slayton, so there's that. I think it's real. You watch the games; he goes deep to him a couple times a game. If you're desperate at wide receiver, that would be the angle I'd go there. Sean, you got anyone?
Auden Tate, receiver for Cincinnati. Throw him in there.
Okay.
They got to throw it to someone, right? The Bengals.
They do.
Yeah.
Pina, you got anyone?
Yeah, I got a couple for you. Look at me coming prepared this week. Byron Pringle, Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are throwing shit up against the wall last week. 6 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, I normally do like to fade, guys that we know what they are. But this is how, things start and guys get to that point.
Dude,
is Watkins the answer? We haven't seen it. Is Hill's still out? They're just throwing the ball around, and I think he makes for a very cheap option. And I think he's like probably 6% owned. Go ahead, Kramer.
He's not owned at all, and I have him in one of my lineups, so I almost threw up a lineup with him. He's 3,500 this week in DFS if you're looking to play that angle because, like you said, Tyreek Hill has not been ruled out, but it doesn't seem certain that he's going to play. So I'm with you on that one.
I got one more for you, and I tried to get a lineup in there with him. I just couldn't really figure it out. Carlos Hyde, has he been great this year? No. Look, last week 60 yards and the touchdown. But here's the thing: this Chiefs defense, how often do we attack them with running backs, Kramer? And again, allowing 132 to Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack, baby.
Yeah, so I think Hyde is in a great spot, specifically for prop overs and, of course, your DFS needs. And, again, streamer of the week, probably Gardner Minshew, so I like it.
Hyde is very startable this week in that position. And we've seen him. He's not an efficient – every year we're going to have the same conversation about how he underperformed his opportunities and how he's not an efficient running back. And yet all he does is get like 40 to 60 yards and score a touchdown, which is very usable. 12 points is fine from a running back position. Other guy, forgot to throw out Sean, because we heard the talk as soon as McVay got to Los Angeles. The talk was Everett is going to be the Jordan Reed of the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen it. And frankly, it happened. I actually picked him up in one of my FFPC leagues for a couple bucks. And then the next week it happened again. And it appears to be real. This is now 2 weeks in a row where he was a significant part of the offense. Granted, he cost them the game with that drop interception, but I think if you're in a situation where you need a tight end, I mean, it's pretty rare to get that kind of upside from a tight end this deep into the season. So
makes sense.
Yes, Sean, are you ready to be done?
Yep. Let's close it out strong. Make sure you check out Christian Pina on Inside Vegas, aka on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network.
Sean's tapped out.
I'm hitting the wall. Pina, what's going on this week?
Frequent friend of the program on the show this week, talking everything about the NFL. That is Spread Investor. That will be up on Friday mornings. We're going to be breaking down the NFL card. We're going to be talking about everything he has going on and kind of the, conversation topics, including kind of the crowdsourcing, quote unquote crowdsourcing stuff that he has been kind of getting into and kind of taking a bunch of people's different opinions and kind of putting it all in one place. So a pretty cool episode on tap for Inside Vegas on, again, Friday morning, Sports Gaming Podcast Network. Subscribe.thesgpn.com.
Oh, beautiful. We love Spread Investor. Definitely going to check that one out.
Good guy. I could follow on Twitter as well. Make sure you follow Christian Pina on Twitter at Christian Pina 4 the Sports Gambling Podcast. I am Sean, stacking the money green, and he is Ryan.
Do we send flowers or a fruit basket to Baker Mayfield?
Kramer, let it ride.